Hello everyone, welcome to this series on the history of English literature. And in this video, we are going to discuss the historical background of the Romantic Age. The Romantic Age, spanning from approximately 1790 to 1830, was a period of profound cultural, political, and social transformation in Europe, particularly in England. This era was heavily influenced by the French Revolution and the subsequent Napoleonic Wars, which had far-reaching effects on the European psyche and societal structures. The Romantic movement in literature and the arts emerged as both as a reaction to and reflection of these turbulent times. The impact of the French Revolution. The French Revolution of 1789 was a watershed movement that promised the ideals of liberty, equality, and fraternity. Its initial stages were met with enthusiasm by many English liberals and intellectuals who saw in it the potential for widespread social and political reform. The revolution challenged the established order and inspired hope for a new era where oppressive structures could be dismantled. However, as the revolution progressed, it took a more radical and violent turn. The Reign of Terror, the rise of Napoleon Bonaparte, and the eventual establishment of a French Empire led to widespread disillusionment. The initial optimism gave way to fear and skepticism as the revolution deviated from its original ideals, leading to chaos and authoritarianism instead of the anticipated democratic utopia. The European War and its consequences. The open warfare between England and France began in 1793 and lasted until 1815, marking one of the most prolonged and significant conflicts of the time. Several factors contributed to the onset of the war. Ideological conflicts. The revolutionary ideas spreading from France were perceived as a threat to the monarchical and aristocratic structures of other European nations, including England. Political alliances and rivalries. The shifting alliances and power dynamics in Europe created an environment ripe for conflict. Economic interests. Control over trade routes and colonies added an economic dimension to the hostilities. The war had several key outcomes. The fall of the French Republic. The revolutionary government eventually collapsed under the weight of internal strife and external pressures. Rise and fall of Napoleon. Napoleon Bonaparte emerged as a dominant figure, establishing himself as emperor and expanding French territories before his eventual defeat. Restoration of the Bourbon monarchy. The Bourbon dynasty was reinstated in France, symbolizing a return to traditional monarchical rule. These events reshaped the political landscape of Europe and had profound effects on England. The prolonged conflict drained resources, affected trade, and stirred political and social unrest at home. The reaction among English intellectuals. The initial enthusiasm for the French Revolution among English writers and thinkers gradually turned into disappointment and rejection. This shift is evident in the works and lives of prominent poets of the time. Early enthusiasm. William Wordsworth and S.T. Coleridge. Both poets were initially inspired by the Revolution's ideals. They saw it as a harbinger of positive change and a break from oppressive traditions. Subsequent disillusionment. As the revolution grew more violent and deviated from its original principles, Wordsworth and Coleridge experienced a crisis of faith. Wordsworth. His disillusionment led him to embrace more conservative views, emphasizing the importance of tradition and social order. Coleridge. He grappled with the conflict between his ideals and the harsh realities of the revolution's outcomes. The younger generation. P.B. Shelley, John Keats, and Leigh Hunt. Unlike their predecessors, these younger poets remained committed to revolutionary ideals. They continued to advocate for social reform and expressed their dissent through their works. Their poetry often reflected themes of individualism, nature, and a critique of societal norms, social conditions, and calls for reform. The end of Napoleonic Wars in 1815 brought significant economic and social challenges to England. Economic hardship, war debts, unemployment due to demobilization of soldiers, and the disruption of trade led to widespread poverty. Low wages and high taxes. The working class bore the brunt of economic difficulties, facing low wages while taxes remained high to pay off war debts. Social unrest. These conditions fueled resentment and led to demands for political and social change. Key events and responses. Peterloo Massacre, 1819. A peaceful protest in Manchester advocating for parliamentary reform was violently suppressed by the cavalry, resulting in numerous deaths and injuries. This event highlighted the government's oppressive measures against calls for reform. Reform Bill of 1832. Intended to address some of the grievances by redistributing parliamentary representation, the bill was seen as a minimal concession. While it expanded the electorate slightly, many felt it did not go far enough in addressing systemic inequalities. Corn laws. Tariffs on imported grain kept food prices high, benefiting landowners while impoverishing the working class. Protests against these laws were a significant aspect of the social unrest. Literary reflections. Shelley and Ebenezer Elliott. These poets used their writings to advocate for social justice and criticize the government's failure to address the needs of the people. Thomas Hood and Felicia Hemans. Their works expressed sympathy for suffering of the poor and critiqued the social conditions that led to such widespread misery. The intensification of social awareness. As the 19th century progressed, there was a growing emphasis on social issues within literature. Rise of social criticism. Writers began to focus more on conditions of the poor, the injustices of the class system, and the need for reform. Influence on modern literature. This heightened social awareness laid the groundwork for later literary movements such as Victorian realism, which continued to explore and critique societal issues. Broader impact. The period's literature did not just reflect social conditions but also influenced public opinion and contributed to the push for reforms. Conclusion. The Romantic Age was a complex and transformative period shaped by the monumental events of the French Revolution and its aftermath. The initial optimism and subsequent disillusionment experienced by key figures of the time reflect the broader societal shifts and challenges. The era's literature serves as both a mirror and catalyst for change, capturing the turmoil, aspirations, and struggles of society in transition. The enduring legacy of the Romantic Age lies in its profound exploration of human emotion, individualism, and a deepened consciousness of social issues. The period set the stage for future literary developments and continues to resonate in the modern understanding of the relationship between art, society, and politics. So this was the discussion on the historical background of the Romantic Age. We will meet in the next video and discuss some other topic. Until then, goodbye and thank you.